Thank you. Thank you. Good night, everyone. Good evening. I would like to open the meeting. Anyone want a second?
I'll second it.
Supervisor Blackman?
Yes.
Council members Winters,
Yes.
Rebellard,
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, emergency exit, my favorite part. The door that you came in and this door over here, if anything exciting should happen in here. I think you're up, Dawn.
For those that are present tonight, Supervisor Blackman,
Here.
Council members Winters,
Here.
Rebellard,
Here.
and Ham.
Here.
Before we do the public comment and then the public hearing, I just wanted to let you know that there were some changes made to the agenda at the last minute, relatively, so I wanted to tell you what got pulled out and why. Number 4, which is approving the town engineer to calculate energy savings of heat pump proposal. Apparently there wasn't enough documentation of the savings from the heat pump, so the Conservation Advisory Committee took that out until they can do that. The Emergency Operation Handbook, which is number 6, what we do need to do eventually is replace SEBI with VRI, because they're the new water operator, which means they're part of the emergency operations team. But apparently that gets changed in about a month from now, typically. And we would have to make other changes at the same time, so we'll just bring this back when that's ready. And number 11, under resolutions, adopting the town of Amenia Emergency Operations Plan. That's basically the same thing as the Emergency Operations Handbook. It's just revising the names. That's okay. Okay, so I would like to open the public comment. We're going to have to do, because there's a lot of people here and we have a very, very long agenda, we're going to have to keep it at 2 minutes a person, and Dawn will be timekeeper. Sorry to do that, since I'm supposed to be Mr. Transparency, but there's a lot we have to get through. So, and if the people who speak first of all, remember to say your name when you get to the microphone and go to the microphone. And the cannabis opt-in hearing will be immediately after that, but let's just have general public comment first, if people have general public comments.
We'll let Anna go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just go right down to you. Go ahead, Anna.
I'm going to try to do it in 2 minutes. Hudson River Housing, I would like to start by saying affordable housing.
Oh, your name? I'm sorry.
Oh, my name is
For the
Anna
camera.
Vecchio,
Okay.
resident of 5 Lake Amenia Road in Amenia, New York. Hudson River Housing, I would like to start by saying affordable housing is a great idea. At your last meeting, there was a request to change zoning to a multifamily apartment buildings. This plan has alarmed neighboring residents. There's a cliff and a steep drop off the former bed adjacent to the property where it has been a death. I do not think this is a proper place for families. It's dangerous. If there was one death, I think it's very dangerous, and consider putting it on top of a hill. Families would also have to worry if their kids run around and something bad might happen. For people with disabilities, they cannot make it up the hill. It's too steep too steep. Sorry. This city type housing should be country type housing, and a better thought out plan, and to put in the right area, flat parcel would be better. Also, the townhouse type is a fire hazard as well. Also, in the plan, it indicates that rentals will be maintained by HRH and the homes will not be given, will not be maintained. Will not be maintained by ARH and the homes will not be given, will not be maintained. These families' incomes are low to moderate. How could they afford to maintain these homes to standards? I think if you maintain one area, the other should be maintained as well. You would want the area to look nice for residents of the town. The income level for for all, make it look good for all residents. The income level is $30,000 to $50,000 range for rentals and $107,000 for a two-person income level for homeowners. This data is pulled from a 5-year census. Amenia Housing Board did research as well. I was told by Hudson River Housing that the rentals based on average, on the rentals in Amenia at this time, that's how the rents are going to be based. I have heard the rentals are high in the area. I think they should be less or based on income level.
Anna, I'm sorry, we're at 2, so if you could just finish the sentence.
Oh, I'm sorry, there was a lot more. If you want me to leave it with you,
That would be
if you want to
great,
read
yeah.
it.
That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. I did a lot of research on this, and I think this is...
Okay, appreciate
something I
that.
can read.
Thank you. You'll distribute it? Okay, great.
Sorry, I couldn't read that until...
Good evening. My name is Sue Gregory. Good evening, Board. Dawn. I'm the Secretary of the Amenia Fish and Game Association, and am representing the Executive Committee of the club. We regret the controversy and contention our recent fundraising flyer generated. This was not our intent. The word trapping was not meant to be included on the flyer, as the season closed on February 15th, 2024 in this part of New York. Trapping has a long history in New York State and continues to this day. It is regulated by the Department of Environmental Conservation. Trappers must be licensed and complete a mandatory trapper education course to obtain a license. Anyone with concerns or questions about the hunting and trapping laws in New York can check out the New York State DEC website, 2023-2024 Hunting and Trapping Regulations Guide. The fundraiser contest was being held in accordance with New York's current environmental conservation laws. The association is aware the law for hunting contests changes on November 1st, 2024. For reference, it is legislation S.4099/A.2917. It amends the environmental conservation law to make certain hunting contests, competitions, tournaments, and derbies that allow for the take of large numbers of wildlife unlawful. This does not include white-tailed deer, turkey, bear, or fishing contests. Amenia Fish and Game follows all Department of Environmental Conservation laws. We'd just like to say that the Fish and Game Association has had a place in the community for over 70 years. We have welcomed the community to our clubhouse and property through Easter egg hunts, game dinners, bicycle groups traveling through the area. We hold hunter safety courses. The Boy Scouts called Amenia Fish and Game home for many years, and now the Top Dogs 4-H group practices at the club. The clubhouse has been used by the community for other events, including receptions after funeral services and memorial events.
Sue, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to stop you too.
Okay, I have one sentence.
You have one sentence,
I have
please go
one.
ahead.
We look forward to supporting and having the support of all the community in the future. Thank you for your time and consideration. The names of the executive committee are on here.
Great.
I'd like to leave it
Thank
with
you.
Dawn.
Thanks. Thanks, Sue. Nice to see you.
Anyone else with general comments? Wow, that was fast.
do.
You do?
So good evening. This is from Stacy Mantle.
Here's another one.
The New York State Energy Research
Here's the
Development Authority, NYSERDA, has approved Amenia to go forward with a community campaign for clean heating and cooling. When 5 or more homes install heat pumps, Amenia will be awarded a $5,000 grant. The grant money will be used towards energy-efficient installations in town buildings. There is no cost to the town. Heat pumps save money and energy. They do not use combustible fossil fuels such as gas, oil, or coal to heat and cool. It is a healthier option, and there are rebates and credits available for homeowners. Are you going to read yours? So you're here. Judy, you had sent 2 comments. Did you want them?
No,
They were circulated. Okay, so then, very good, then that's all.
quick question here on this
Yes.
here from Stacy. Does that mean private residences needs to not notify the town that they've installed this?
I've been asked to read the statement.
Okay.
The
Yeah, I don't know the answer to
representative
that
could
either.
probably answer that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Jim, you're up.
Thanks. I'm Jim Wright, 40-year resident of Amenia, member of the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Wastewater Committee. I am here to speak in favor of one of the people that is up for this temporary appointment to fill the vacancy of the town board. He happens to be sitting right here. I would strongly urge you to move forward this evening with appointing Charlie Miller. I don't think this is a Democrat versus Republican issue. I think it's an issue that Amenia has got to start moving forward. There are numerous examples of foot dragging and obstruction and Lord knows what, but I think that Charlie is dedicated to improving the lives of everyone in Amenia. He's worked tirelessly on both the housing and the wastewater committees. And he's really smart and knows how to get things done and raise money, and I just urge you to look at his resume and embrace the fact that he would be a valued addition to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. There was someone else? Any other comments? Oh, yes.
Yeah, I just, when you mentioned the
I'm sorry, you have to go to the microphone, or they can't, our audience in TV land can't hear you. And
Kent
your name.
Polsky, resident on Cascade Mountain Road. When you mentioned the heat pump, is there any way the town can publish vendors so that we can buy locally? I mean, that would be a good way to start putting money into the economy. And if we don't know the vendors that are here, for instance, I know there's someone who sells Generacs, but I only found that out through casual conversation who's in Amenia.
Yeah, I'm sure the Conservation Advisory Committee would be very happy to do that.
Even a commerce committee or development.
Okay, well, are you speaking about generally about local vendors, or are you speaking about specifically for heating and cooling?
Heat pumps, I'd rather buy
Okay.
from someone local if it's competitive, but in general, I mean, there are so many outlying businesses here, be they auto body or whatnot. How do we, I mean, we go and we pick the first shiny thing on the internet. Be nice if it was Amenia.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? General comments? Okay, then we are going to move on to the public hearing about the cannabis opt-in. So I'd like to open the public hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And that is, just already, it's clear, it's to open the public hearing on the opt-in for cannabis. And that is Supervisor Blackman?
Yes.
Council members Winters?
Yes.
Rebellard?
Yes.
And Ham?
Yes.
Okay.
You don't all run at once.
Any comments? That was a little sad, wasn't it?
You want to read, you want your comment back?
Yeah.
Sure. No, okay.
But I want
When you're all done, you can bring it back.
Okay.
Look, there's somebody there.
Good evening, Town Board. I'm Phyllis Rosa. I'm a resident of Amenia. We have a family farm, and I've lived in this area my entire life. And talking about the dispensary, I am in favor that the town opt in on this venture. As we know, all products are tested for quality and potency. It allows adults 21 years and older to purchase products that have met all the safety guidelines and are tracked statewide, from the sale of the seed to the sale of the product. There would be no worries about pesticides or pathogens. They are also tested by a third-party lab. The staff are trained and knowledgeable and provide information on how the product works and which works best for you. They offer educational material and pamphlets and books, and they provide information on what your need may be and how the product would work for you. I'm not talking about strictly recreational. I'm talking medical marijuana and the importance that that generates. And we hear so often, not in my backyard, and it's derailed more initiatives at the local level. Whether you opt in or not, there is still being cannabis bought, sold, and consumed. And legalizing it will lessen street dealers and less criminal element. And also, Rutgers just finished a study that value of lands have increased by 1.9% that has dispensaries in their community.
Phyllis, I'm going to, oh,
Is that
is that
my
it?
2
I'm going to have to,
minutes?
yes, that was your 2 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you very much for
Thank
speaking.
you.
So
Next.
what I'll do is I'll put 2 up.
Ooh, okay. I figured
Make it-
that's where you were going with
To make
that.
it easy for
Not
everybody.
peace.
Yes?
Next.
And, oh.
Well, let me, yeah.
I'm Jamie Pekovich. Phyllis is actually my mother, so I can fill in for what she could not continue with. My stepfather, Peter Rosa, I love dearly, passed away sadly from pancreatic cancer. He was prescribed medical marijuana, I'm not exactly sure, gummies, this, and that, but they struggled. They had to go to Kingston. They had to run around. She was traumatized to have to do all this running around, and the medicinal purposes were overwhelming. You're not on these freaking painkillers that all these dummies are doing. You know, and that's what everybody gets. Every doctor wants to prescribe Vicodin, Oxycontin. Why not just use the marijuana purposes of it and ease out? Why everybody wants to make money? This is something that is natural from nature. It's not a medical company making money off of all this nasty stuff that is the gateway to other stuff. I think it would be very wise to let this happen so people don't have to travel 20, 50, 30 miles. Yes.
I just want to add to what my son is saying.
Is this acceptable?
Yes, go ahead.
My late husband's oncologist strongly recommended the medical marijuana. We had to go through endless paperwork through the New York State Health Department, have photo IDs, and it took weeks. And then we had to travel on the other side of Kingston with a man who was trying to hide his pain and discomfort. And he was given a prescription by his oncologist, and using the medical marijuana certainly lessened his pain and anxiety. And thank you for letting me.
Okay, and that's
Okay,
two
is my
anyway.
2 minutes
so-
up?
Your 2 minutes sadly are up, but thank you. Yeah, go ahead. You can go.
One of you.
Oh, someone else is going up ahead of
I
you.
have a question. You guys were working on, Doug Broughton, 390 Old Route 22, Wasaik. You guys were working on zoning amendments. Was that, anything happened with those yet? With the,
No, we want to have a hearing before we
okay,
move
all
forward
right.
with that.
All right, so back to the medical part, which is, it really is the ramification what's going on in recreational. Pfizer is involved right now. And you know what they're going to do with cannabis? They're going to synthesize it. They're going to add something to it that adds something down the road. So we, after with the state hedging on the license I want, which is a small micro, and then we haven't opted in yet. It actually has given me some time, and as luck has it, I partnered up with a pretty well-known actor, and he's in Vermont. And his partner, they're working on the same criteria I'm using to produce cannabis, but for cancer. We created a Rick Simpson oil, which I make it for ingestion, because I really don't like smoking myself. We've given it to 4 cancer patients, all stage 4, one's pancreatic. Now, it's not going to stop stage 4 or anything, as of yet, we don't think. He's cured eye cancer at a stage 2. Is this gone without any things like that. But as far as the town opting in, I want to get back to rec, but the medicinal thing is very important to my license as well, because I figure right now what we do, when we create the RSO, we give it away. We're not selling it to people that are at stage 4 to stage 3. They just get it until we don't have it anymore. And so we're all on board, this group in Vermont and myself. We're just waiting right now. I'm just sitting with an empty room waiting to see what the town does to move ahead with whatever you guys decide. If you decide still to opt out, I'll be fine. I've got places to go, but I would like to see it here. It would bring money to the town. We have small farmers that have a lot of land, and I think it'd be a big benefit. And good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Ann?
Mine is short. I was told there were discussions on creating a cannabis dispensary in the area of Amenia. This is a double-edged sword, I say. If you don't develop one, people and kids will get it off the street, and as well as we know, there's fentanyl out there. It has been publicized all over the news. In this case, it is dangerous. If you don't develop it, that would be nice as well, for families do not have to worry about walking down the street, seeing people smoking marijuana in public with families around. That is not proper for children and teenagers to see in public. Then you won't know what type of crowd you will attract either. You won't have a safe place for families and tourists in Amenia's future. Also, they don't regulate the percentage of marijuana either. It's a high potency, which I personally do not agree with. If it was regulated, it would be a different scenario. Certain percentage, lower percentage rates, which I personally do not agree. Not sure why New York State doesn't have a regulation on the potency levels, since I heard there was high potency. Personally, I do not think cannabis should be on the agenda yet. It should be put on the list for a later time. There are other high priorities that need to be taken care of at this time. I think there should be a residential vote if there is going to be one, like voting for a supervisor, a ballot type thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judy.
My name is Judy Moran. I am of the opinion that medical marijuana is a very useful tool for managing pain and nausea and a lot of other things for people who are ill, and I can't say anything negative about that. I have no horse in the race as far as recreational marijuana. It's not my thing, that's all. But as with most things, the devil's in the details. And if we are going to pass a local law allowing for dispensaries to be created here, I would very much like townspeople to have a chance to look at the provisions of that law before the board votes on it, so that we can see what if any parameters there might be for where it is, who might be allowed to be around, that sort of thing. So that's my only comment on it right now.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes?
Hi, I'm Mickey O'Neill from Amenia, and I am here to speak in favor of the dispensaries. Again, I don't use it. I don't have anything to do with it, but I've worked in healthcare for 30 years, and I have seen the benefit of that. I'd also like to say that I've been to many places in other states where there are dispensaries, and I have never, ever seen any undesirable folks hanging around a dispensary. I've never, if anyone's been to Great Barrington locally for restaurants, whatever, it's not that people are smoking on the street or doing any kind of drugs, so I don't perceive that as something that's going to be an issue, but I do think it could be a great way to move Amenia forward and provide some more revenue to the town, and probably bring a lot more into our local economy, not just for the dispensary, but for people coming into town, stopping at our stores, stopping at our restaurants, and just realizing that Amenia is a nice place to come to. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes? Hi.
Jim Walsh, Amenia resident since 1964. I've seen a lot of changes in town as we've gone along. And what I'm hearing is that there is a progressive thought about a dispensary in town. In 1918, the Volstead Act prohibited the sale and use of alcohol, and that law was in force until 1933. And the only ones that benefited from it were criminals. We have an opportunity here in town to, now that it is legal, we have an opportunity in town to see a thriving business. And I think that as a member of the planning board, that I've seen stagnation in town for some time. And some changes I'm not too thrilled about also. But one of the things that I would promote absolutely is a dispensary in town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Oop, yes.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Welsh. My dad started Welsh Sanitation. He died from lung cancer, and he really could have benefited from the medical marijuana aspect of it. And it was hard to see him pass that way. That's
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Charlie Miller from Wassaic. I am supportive of Amenia introducing a local law that allows adult use dispensary. And I think the local law has to address both the dispensary aspect of it and the on-site consumption. I'm not in favor of an on-site consumption location. And I would like the town board to contemplate the number of licenses that would be allowed in Amenia and in Wassaic. If Wassaic could possibly have a license, I'm not sure. What I know sort of about the law in New York is that dispensary has to be within so many feet of an actual public road. So that may prevent a dispensary being in like Freshtown. But as you discuss this, I mean, I think it's people want, a law that allows it. And I think we should remove barriers to business owners, So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you all for your comments.
We vote to close, yeah?
Yes. I propose we close the cannabis hearing.
I second it.
Supervisor Blackman?
Yes.
Council members Winters?
Yes.
Revelard?
Yes.
Ham?
yes.
Great. Okay. Sorry. Where did I just put it? Probably at the bottom of all this pile of papers. There it is.
Want this?
No, I got it. Thank you. Thanks, though. So I just wanted to give everyone an update of what I've been doing since the last board meeting. I held the first town hall staff meeting in a decade, which was very well received, and I promised a coffee maker for the building, which doesn't have one. Megan and I met with the engineers from Labella Engineering to discuss next steps for the highway garage project. They were asked to add some missing information to their feasibility study and presented their proposal for the balance of design, bid, and supervision work. The estimate is $300,000 in fees, so I've spoken to the town engineer about drafting a request for proposals to bid this. I've since gone with Megan to visit some new garages in nearby towns, which provided useful information on layout, heating, and dimensions. Labella is also designer of the sidewalk to Beekman Park and have acquired a grant so that they can build the last stretch, which there was not quite enough money for. I'm hoping the board will pass tonight a resolution hiring a lawyer and engineer to prepare the map plan and report for wastewater. That's the next step in the process of forming a sewer district, getting accurate estimates, and applying for grants. The project has been delayed twice, so we're now in the last 2 years of infrastructure funds, so if we don't move quickly, we're going to have blown that entirely. Regarding the Water District, Tyler and Phil from VRI are here, and they'll be giving a report right after the town clerk. I had a meeting with Tyler and Joe McLaughlin, head of VRI, to discuss opportunities to simplify SEBI's proposed repairs, which were quite extensive and quite expensive. VRI thinks the Lavelle Road wells and pumps could be rebuilt in place for much less cost. I spoke to Mary Lynch this morning from Hudson River Housing, and regarding the project on Route 22, they've pulled the request for a zoning variance, at least for now, so that's off the agenda. The gymnasium floor, Tracy Saladay, a local architect, is preparing the documents for the gym floor project. She has specifications for the types of flooring and plans to send that out from pricing soon. The estimate she's received was below the previous ones that were gotten, although those were much less specific. And she's also looking at a poured floor, which seems to have a lot of advantages over the broken up tile we have. Swimming, Rosanna had a conversation with the business manager at Maplebrook School regarding the possibility of arranging senior swim in their pool. This is in the very initial stages, but sounds exciting. Also early is Millerton's construction of an outdoor swimming pool. I toured phase 1 of their rebuilt recreation area. They expect Amenia residents will be able to pay a fee to use it when complete in about 2 years. NECC. I spoke to Christine Sargent, director of the Northeast Community Center, about 2 programs I'd asked her about when I was on the town board. She had offered to open a satellite office at Town Hall so NECC could assist residents with taxes and access to social services without them driving to Northeast. I also asked her about reviving our farmers market on Friday early evenings. NECC employs a market manager who might be able to take that on. And that certainly would be a draw for folks getting off the train. Downtown improvements. I've spoken to Marky O'Brien and Lauren Moss, who are co-chairs of the Enhancement Committee regarding upgrades to Fountain Square and the center of Wassaic. I'm looking for funding for the first and a survey for the second. Was there any news any further news on the title search? Sorry to scare you there, but...
There was some information that was found, and I had sent that an email to the board. So the title company found another lead, which they are exploring at this point. I haven't heard anything from them since that, though, so that's all I got. It's encouraging that they found another lead, so we'll see what that develops.
Do you know if anyone's spoken to Metro North to see if they have maps? Because if they're adjacent property owners, you think that they might indicate that on a map that they have.
I don't know if they have. I don't know how many different people they contacted or what they did.
Okay.
But the issue is the trail prior to this dead-ended at, I think it was 1918. So there's a significant amount of time that's missing. So that's why it's and the records that would take that ball and run with it are in the surrogate court, which are out to the state for microfilm. And they haven't come back yet. And unfortunately, they've been there forever. They've been there for a long time. So.
My budget director of financial, what is your title, Charlie? Director of Finance, I was close. Charlie was finally able to start on Friday. The town was able to get him a chair and a computer at last, and he's managing all the grants that have been awarded in the last few years, and because they're not very well organized, and sort of trying to follow up and make sure they were all closed out, and looking for ways to save the town money, including the New York class project, which comes up later. And I had a conversation with Brenna Robinson, our grant writer, to review a spreadsheet she created to track our capital projects, potential grants, application deadlines, and required backup. We discussed starting with Amenia's 3 most urgent needs: the highway garage, wastewater system, and water district repairs. She and I will have a weekly check-in meeting to move this along, and she'll also be talking to the chairs of committees to find out what they need. So that's the supervisor's report.
That's okay. Thank you, Anna.
Just before I start the town clerk report, we do have one other written comment that was circulated to us earlier today from Tracy Saladay, who was expressing her concern about the licensing of the cannabis dispensary in Amenia. So we do acknowledge that, and thank you, Tracy, for forwarding that. So for tonight, for the town clerk's report, we do have 2 sets of minutes, February 15th and February 28th.
I make a motion to accept.
I second it.
Paul?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Supervisor Blackman?
Yes.
Council members, Winters?
Yes.
Breblard?
Yes.
And Ham?
Yes.
Thank you. Also acknowledging that February's month collection in the town clerk's office totaled $415.50, with the local share having been remitted to the supervisor in the amount of $370. For our tax collection through this date this afternoon, total taxes collected, $6,362,702.92, $798.35 in penalty, with a remaining uncollected of $3,264,233.30. Just for the board to be... They're used to you leaving when my... And just so the board knows, we were collecting applications for our part-time seasonal groundskeeper, and I have collected 2. So I do believe that we were going to discuss at our next meeting that we will begin early so we can conduct those interviews.
Sounds good to me.
You know, it's the one time that he walks out, and that concludes the town clerk's report for this month, because we knew tonight's public comment would be a lot.
Do we need to wait for him, or can we move on to the water operator report?
VRI is here, and I believe they have handouts too, so maybe by the time they come up and hand them out, we can get started. So let's move right into that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler.
Excellent.
So you got to go to the podium, make sure you talk into the mic so everyone can hear you, and say your name nice and loud since it's your first visit here with us.
Good evening. My name is Tyler Post with VRI Environmental Services. I'm the operations manager. We just wanted to say we look forward to working with the town of Amenia. We took over operations in around the middle of January, and I've been conducting day-to-day operations since. So we're still in the process of going through trying to find repairs that need to be made, future upgrades, and just getting kind of familiarized with the facilities. Things to note: there was a communication issue between the Lavella pump house and the water storage tank. We weren't able to see how much water was in that tank. That was repaired by JEM Engineering around the middle of January. I don't have the exact date. And there was a water main break at 80 Depot Hill Road on February 23rd that was repaired, 6-inch water main. Included in that report, it's just the monthly operations report that's sent to the regulatory agencies, Dutchess County and New York State Department of Health, indicating the daily water flows and all of that. But yeah, if you have any questions or anything. But
hi, and thank you for coming. Is there any status report on the operational status of the fire hydrants in the town?
not yet. So we haven't, it being March still, we haven't really done anything with the hydrants yet because we won't get into flushing until it gets kind of warmer into the spring.
And have you seen any reports, previous reports?
No, we have not. We have limited, we're working with limited information from what we were able to obtain from the previous operator. So we have some previous reports, but that's taking a little bit of time to get familiarized with a lot of stuff in the districts yet. So.
Which seems unusual because that information is owned by the town.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is what I had to say to him to get him to give us anything, but it is a problem.
All right, well, I think it's a priority, especially when it comes to fire hydrants. If they work, if there's a fire out in front of your house, can't rely on it?
I'm 8 years where we are. I've never seen anybody come out and come check the fire hydrant to see if it's working ever.
Yeah, so that's something that we'll we'll definitely be looking into being the new water system operator.
Have you guys been able to get a grasp yet on whether the system is charging enough to operate properly and possibly make money for the future improvements?
Yes, I mean, as far as, we haven't heard of any low pressure complaints or anything like that. As far as capacity goes, is that what you're referring to?
No, I mean, are you guys also responsible for collecting the money that's being charged for the system or no?
No,
Okay.
we're strictly just operation and maintenance of the facilities themselves.
Okay.
And won't really be, we can assist in any way that we can and kind of help and make recommendations, but as far as contractually, we're operation and maintenance of the facilities.
Okay, thank you.
We will be involved in reading the meters.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. And then that gets passed on to the town, and Nancy Noack and Vicki, whose last name
Jasmine.
escaped me.
Jasmine. Vicki Jasmine.
Vicki Jasmine put the bills together.
Okay, cool.
I did have a question for you. What was that? In terms of the function of the system, we knew that things were pretty bad, had gotten pretty bad at LaBelle.
Mhm.
Is it still, is the pump house still, despite its condition, operating?
It's operating, yes. I definitely think in the near future, that's one of the first things that should be looked at is that pump house. There's an artesian well, which means the aquifer is pressurized enough so that when the pump doesn't draw down from the aquifer, there's actually enough pressure to where the water will just kind of spill out, and that tends to happen in there. So there's minor flooding. It's a good sign in that there's plenty of water in the aquifer, which is one of the reasons that we suggested that we take a look at that, perhaps preserving that well and not try to move on from that. I mean, if we have to try to provision extra treatment for that well, I think that's one of our recommendations is to look into that before abandoning it. But as for now, yes, it's operational. It's not something that's, day to day going to fall apart. But
that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Another question regarding the LSL study.
Pardon?
The LSL?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, lead service lines. Do we have any costs figuratively yet?
So in some of the documents that we reviewed that we received from the town and past operator, it looked like there was, I know there was a proposal provided, it looked like, and in some of the files, it looks like that was, a lot of that was completed, the lead service line inventory. So we're looking at kind of going through that, and again, we replaced one water meter on LaBelle Road for a resident already, and so trying to conduct our own just verification, but it looks like a majority of that lead service line inventory was completed by SEBI.
Okay.
So as far as past history with what was paid and what wasn't, I'm not sure about that.
All right. Thank you.
Do you have any questions, Rosanna? Okay, thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can I ask for the interview?
I'm sorry, Bill?
Can I just give my report now?
Since you're on the water committee, you mean? Well, we weren't going to, but I don't see why not.
Is that okay?
Yeah?
To answer Paul's question?
Sure.
So we have met with Nancy at her office. We met today. We're meeting again on Tuesday. We've pulled all the commercial buildings, apartment buildings that are in the water district. So we will be coming up with a figure, and we also will be doing like a 3-tier or 4-tier billing option as to, for single family, 2-family, 3-family and up in commercial buildings. We've pulled the water readings, water usage for most of the downtown. Some of these buildings are using 25, 30, 40, 50,000 gallons a quarter. One used over 1 million gallons in one cycle. It did have a leak though, but it was over 1 million gallons. So there definitely has to be some changes made. So we pulled some other ones today, pulled another 10 or 12.
should they be working with VRI?
We are.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, they're speaking
We
to
are.
each other already.
All right.
Just to bring
Thank
you
you.
up to
No,
speed.
that's helpful. I mean, the issue is that the way that the stuff was calculated, I mean, the whole system was kind of sloppy.
Sloppy, yeah.
And didn't really, it wasn't fair. I mean, it was not fair to single-family residences because large users were only paying a small amount per 1,000 gallon beyond what the initial sum was that they had to pay every month.
They're all paying the same, basically.
Right, but there was a, I mean, but yes, everyone, the businesses and the single-family houses pay the same, but then you pay per 1,000 gallons after that, and the amount per 1,000 gallons was so much lower than the first 5,000 gallons that there was no disincentive about using tons of water.
If I remember from last year, the water district faces quite a large financial challenge as far as repairs that need to be done to the water system. Is that still the same? That has not changed? You guys have some stuff that needs to be repaired?
It's still the same, but this water operator is actually looking at some more creative solutions, some less expensive solutions, because I always sort of thought the previous suggestions were kind of crazy in terms of just the scale of them, and that there were probably simpler ways to solve the specific problems.
Since they've taken over, there's been no extra billing.
Okay.
We paid the $3,500 a month, and that's it. So hopefully they don't hit us with a $50,000 bill next week, so we'll be all set. Anyway, but that's, obviously there's maintenance that has to be done, there's no question. But they'll get there. It's a good company. I've done a lot of work with them in the past, so they're a good company.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Water. So I wanted to see if anyone on the board had comments on the cannabis opt-in law now that we've heard from some of the residents.
Actually, I do.
You go right ahead, resident.
So I don't have a problem with the opting in. However, I think there needs to be some really strong parameters. I would not like to see a lounge. I think that we should make sure that, well, I just would hate to see people like smoking marijuana on the streets and that kind of thing. So, my thought was kind of having like, and I don't know if this is even possible, having like a, an open container law as far as that is concerned. And any kind of like public, and can all this be put in a law? I guess is what I'm asking. When we set this up, if we set this up, can these be taken into consideration? And can it be regulated by the town?
I was reading this week about I believe it was North Canaan, had been working on a law for a long time, and one of the issues actually was that they had figured out some way to accomplish that. But I don't remember the details.
So in New York State, currently the law is that you cannot smoke marijuana any place that says no smoking. So if we're talking about public land, which would be the basketball court or down at Beekman Park or any of our parks, you would not be allowed to smoke marijuana in those without passing any new laws. That's already restricted currently, because everyone's got to realize that marijuana is already legal in New York State. This concern that I've seen online and from other people about a dispensary bringing new marijuana usage to the community seems a little odd to me, because we currently have a very strong and thriving group of people in our community that are currently using marijuana every day. I know quite a few people that drive to Great Barrington to purchase marijuana products to manage their pain. So this is not something that's new. We're not going to bring new users. If we put a dispensary in town, we're not going to suddenly have all these outsiders coming into this community and purchasing marijuana. Everyone has to realize also that Pine Plains and Millerton have already gotten ahead of us last year. They worked past this moral argument of whether we should have marijuana sales or not. Because really at this point, that's really all it is. It's a morality argument. It's kind of like the gentleman brought up about whether we're going to regulate alcohol again or not. And the state's moved forward. It's been something in my interest or in my head that I've argued for over 30 years, that marijuana sales should be legal. It does benefit farmers. And it will continue to benefit farmers for years to come, and it will benefit people other than just recreational usage. So I would highly recommend that we move forward. This is not something people are saying, oh, well, why are you discussing this? Well, it's not really something that takes away from working on the town garage or working on the water system. This is just a formality, right? Is what we have to do here today is have our public comment, and then we ask someone to start drawing a law up for us. It's not a complicated thing. And then once we pass that law, it's out of our hands at that point, and it's up to the private industry whether they actually get a dispensary opened or not.
I also think that the potency is regulated by the state.
I think it is
seem to
as
remember 24% or whatever.
Yeah. I think it is as well to a certain extent.
They had potency on the ticket for a while. Now they're taking it off. As far as it was a taxation issue. They wanted to tax more for higher potency, and that just got thrown out because they realized at that point that to create an entire if the state wants to do it, they have to pay to get it up and running, and so they just kind of paid for that.
For me personally, last year I also I have a couple different jobs actually. I'm here now. Everyone's aware that I work for AP Construction out of Stanford, build big buildings, but I'm a production assistant for Radio Woodstock, and Radio Woodstock puts on this operation called Canistock twice a year. And last year over in Milton, New York, we had a one-day festival that drew about 8,000 people, and they spent $1.5 million in 8 hours buying cannabis product. The town of Milton got 4% of that for 8 hours of sales. Wouldn't be a bad little bump here for little Amenia.
Brad, do you have anything to say on the subject?
Yeah, my biggest concern here is the reality of what's happening in Dutchess County with the fentanyl lacing of marijuana, amongst other things. And there was some current events, and Rosanna and I had read them in the Poughkeepsie Journal about the arrests in Poughkeepsie, and also about its relationship to ghost guns, and with the whole fentanyl industry epidemic in Dutchess County. Now, these are current events. These are just happening right now. And I think if whatever study you read about marijuana, good or bad, there's a bigger issue here. And it's the illegal sales and black market use and sales of the drug and the plant. And now this fentanyl, we've all heard about opioid crisis in the county for many years. Well, this is bigger. This is much bigger, and I think anybody who has hesitation about whether we should or should not opt in needs to consider whether or not people are getting registered, clean, inspected product that is not laced with fentanyl. That's my biggest issue with this whole idea of opting in. So I'd like to think that people are not getting black market laced marijuana. Do you want to comment about that article?
Well, that was just the other article that we read about the ghost guns, the big bust in Poughkeepsie. And it was in a residential area. It was a gas station. So it definitely is a problem. And I think that article that you sent was that Dutchess is the highest, has the highest death rate of fentanyl in the New York State.
The highest in the state. Dutchess County. Number one.
Maybe we should just have everybody in the town vote for it, and then whatever percentage you get, you get.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you're making Mike crazy by not going to the microphone. Okay, I mean, I am not opposed to the regulated sale of marijuana. I mean, I do think that the planning board is going to have to do a good amount of work figuring out where it can go and how many stores and all that stuff. Because I know North Canaan spent a lot of time trying to work that out. Pretty sure it was North Canaan.
So I provided the town board with, and to Ian, Pine Plains local law on their legal restrictions, like 500 yards from a school, 500 yards from a gathering of public, like a library and stuff like that. It's not It's a pretty simple, straightforward thing. What would be the next step after this public hearing?
Well, I would actually like to see a little, I read that, but I would like to see a little bit more restriction on that.
Okay.
Because I don't think they mentioned anything about the lounge or the,
Because they only opted in to allow the dispensary. So when we opt in, we have a choice either to opt in for dispensary, or we have an option to opt in for a dispensary lounge. We have one or two choices. That's not, the local law is not going to say whether we allow a lounge or not. That's going to be whenever we actually vote whether to opt in or not, and what level of opt-in we choose.
Okay, but my understanding was, and I think it was from Ian, when we were having this discussion, that you thought that the law should be created first before we opt in, because if we opt in, then we don't have any control. Is that something that you said?
So I'll give a kind of an over just to help kind of clarify some of these items. The opt-in, you have two aspects. You have a dispensary, and then you have on-site consumption. This board, I believe, is only talking about dispensary and not about on-site consumption. Is that my understanding?
That is correct.
Okay. So now we have dispensaries. The issue that I recommended to the board, and what I'm seeing in a lot of municipalities, is when they did the opt-in, nobody really thought about citing where these are going to go. And so a lot of the municipalities are kind of behind on that realm as to how they want to regulate them, where they want to place them. And that would be my recommendation to the board, is to get the zoning of them and how you're going to regulate them. I would pass that law first. Then what you would be doing is basically rescinding, because we opted out, right? So we would be rescinding that law as to the dispensary and then opting back in. So we need to rescind and then go back in, just procedurally.
So now that we've had the public hearing, it's my understanding from you from just now is we need to pass a local law directing.
This public hearing was set up more as an informational, just to try to get more information about where the public stands on the issue. At this point, if the board wanted to proceed with it, if the board wants to proceed, my recommendation would be to start working on how you want to regulate it.
And how we would direct the planning board to do that?
You could do the planning board, you can hire a planner if you want to have a planner come in and do it. Some of the because it's such a hot button issue right now, and a lot of these municipalities are behind, I'd be willing to bet that a lot of the planners right now are pretty in tune with what is being regulated and how it's being done. And I think it would probably be very beneficial to the board.
Okay. Before our next meeting, let me just investigate. We have a planner there used to be a planner that worked for the board and the planning board specifically. We don't have that anymore.
Okay.
But there are planners that we've used a number of times in the last couple of years. So let me just sort of figure out who that is and how much that'll cost, and find out. And I also want to talk to the head of the planning board in terms of how they want to get involved or not.
Okay.
All right, so
we'll bring it back up on the next meeting.
I will do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. All right. We removed the discussion topic about the HRH project, because they requested that this morning, which is one reason that this agenda got so strange. I had suggested televising the planning board and zoning board meetings, and I had asked Mike about the cost. That would be 3 more meetings a month, because the planning board meets twice and the zoning board meets once and we meet twice. So it'd be 5 instead of 3 recordings and broadcastings. He's gonna think about that. Just wanted to have some idea of what that might involve. My other thought was that if we could get the planning board and the zoning board to meet in this room and kind of abandon their room, that all of the video equipment could be here, and it would also free up a room for committee meetings who don't really have a room, or for a drop-in center for seniors or teens, or a space for NECC to do their satellite office. So
the obvious question would be, neither the planning board or the zoning board meets the same time as the town board,
right.
or they don't meet at the same time either.
No, the planning board is on Wednesdays.
CB is
and-
Monday.
Mondays.
And
Mondays.
the other one's Monday. So, I mean, that's the thing, that room is only used 5 times a month.
Yeah.
Actually not, I'm sorry, 3 times a month.
3 times a month, yeah.
And we're used 2 times a month,
Yeah.
so I'd like to
This is
just sort
only
of...
used 2 times a month.
I
yeah.
think that's a pretty easy thing to do,
Yeah.
and I haven't been able to reach Terry Metcalf because he's traveling, or maybe he knows what I'm calling him about, but I did speak to Bob Boyles, and he said he didn't have a problem with it. So I'll also try to reach Terry and see if I can make some progress on that front. Okay.
I'm personally, I'm agreeable to finding the money to be able to make it by video, to get more information out to the community. Brad, how's that?
And go ahead.
Definitely. That's huge. I think that we should definitely do it.
I think we should take it a step further, actually, and this room should be equipped as a media room in general. I know we've talked in the past about screens for reviewing on the wall. I don't know, somebody had mentioned that about the town of Dover, I think it was, we had a discussion.
No, I would assume we would do that,
Yeah.
because if everyone's in one space, it makes sense to invest in that, where there's
Right.
2 different rooms.
So this room should be fully equipped as a media room, yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. The highway garage, it does look like it's going to be a good amount. I mean, the estimate from their feasibility study was $6 million. That was with a lot of, built-in. Well, it was about, looking far into the future in terms of how much things are going to cost 5 years from now. Although
Sure.
hopefully it won't take 5 years. But in any event, but I think it would be good to move that ahead. It's been sort of on the agenda for a really long time in Amenia. And I spoke to John Andrews, the town engineer, who sounded a little busy, but said he would be interested in doing it. So I have to find out what a little busy means in terms of schedule. But I would like him to put together an RFP, because I think that not only is the fees for the plan, the fees for the engineering and architecture, but also the cost of building it is going to be pretty large. So I think doing an RFP for the next phase instead of just using the same design.
What is the FR? What do you mean by
Oh, I'm sorry,
FRP?
request for proposal.
All right.
Because that was how the first firm was chosen.
Mm-hmm.
And, they have an advantage because they did the feasibility study.
Sure.
But I just feel it would be worth getting prices from 2 other firms,
Sure.
just to kind of know. And then,
So I do have a question while
Yeah,
we are
please.
discussing the highway garage, and especially with the town lawyer sitting here. The town garage has been something that's been going on for, 20 years at least, that we have not been able to successfully find the money to get done, whether it be by grants, bonds, or whatever. What would it take to put this as say a 20-year, 30-year bond to be able to put before the voters come this November, so that they could have a chance to vote, say, what would we need to have in place to be able to make this a bond and say, all right, listen, town of Amenia, this project's going to cost 5.5, this project's going to cost 6 million. Will you approve this? I mean, what would we need to do to make that happen for this November? Because this year is a presidential election, and we're going to have a lot of voters out there.
Ian's been talking about talking to, well, go ahead, you to the bond lawyer.
Yeah, the board has bond counsel. Doug Goodfriend, he's absolutely fantastic, literally wrote the book. If you have questions regards to bonding and the process for that, I would highly recommend reaching out to bond counsel. I've recommended it numerous times to this board. He's a wealth of information and an untapped resource.
Great. Yeah, I'm also hoping that we can bring the cost down some. There are
Sure.
some things that were suggested in the previous phase that kind of didn't get tested out, so I'd like to. And also, going around with Megan and looking at other garages made it clear to her what
Sure.
she needs and what she
I
doesn't.
think the town itself would appreciate if we actually got something in front of them. If we could do it this year, if it's possible. I mean, I know
Okay.
there's always struggles
And I
town
think,
government moves slow, but if there's a way that we can make it happen by November.
And I think, Leo, in our first meeting, you listed that as one of the highest priorities.
The garage?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
It is, okay.
Ian, do you know if we have an estimated cost from our feasibility study? Is that enough information for bond counsel, or are we going to need a harder cost, which we may not have for a while?
I don't want to speak for him, but
Okay.
I would take that feasibility study, send it to him, and then follow up.
Great. Will do. Okay, what?
Miller wants to speak.
You want to say something?
I'll put my little finance hat on right now.
Okay, you go right ahead,
So
Charlie.
the town board has, so you can bond anything. Bonding is a town board resolution subject to permissive referendum. So, I mean, even as a resident, outside of being like the director of finance, I would say you wouldn't want to, relinquish your authority to bond and make that subject to a town-wide referendum by right, just because there are many municipal projects that need to be done that you wouldn't want to wait to have a townwide vote on that. I mean, generally you have a budget and then you ultimately find a funding structure for it. The same happened with the heating in this building. It happened with the closing the old landfill. We have, and we don't really have that much debt in this town, truthfully, compared to the assessed value, which is the way you measure how much debt you can actually take on.
Thank you. Okay, the next.
Hold on.
I just would like to say something. What I think is very important, when I worked at a company where I worked for 18 years, your employees are your customers, your taxpayers are your customers. So I think the more input you get from them, like vote on cannabis, because it's hard for 5 people to decipher that for all the taxpayers. And I wouldn't want that burdened on me either if I didn't make the proper decision. You know what I mean? So if you get a certain percentage, like a ballot, and people vote on it, say you get 70%, 60%, okay, you go with it. If you only get 30%, I don't think you should go with it because your customers, your taxpayers are not going to be happy.
Okay, thank you. I don't actually even know that this requires, I mean, I'll explain it. I don't know that it requires a vote, but the people in Millerton asked for a letter of support about their pool. They thought that would help them to raise money and help them to get their board on board. So unless anyone has a problem with that, I will just write up a letter of support for the people that are on the planning and fundraising committee.
Yeah.
What does that mean, a letter of support?
It just means to say that that we would be very happy for Millerton to, well, probably congratulating them on what they've done already, but being very happy if they would move ahead with the next phase, and that we hope that we will have some access to that pool when it gets built.
Well, that's my point. So are they offering access to the town of Amenia for use?
Well, they're not at a point where they actually could do money, but that was the conversation I had with Jennifer Dowley, who's one of the people on the committee that put this all together.
When my kids were young, it was by fee. It was a minimal fee that you paid.
Right.
And Amenia residents had access.
Right.
Back whenever they were young ladies and the pool was open.
Yeah. No, I've seen the plan. It's wonderful, and it's going to be very expensive, I might add. So.
It is $5 million, I think.
Yeah.
And they've been raising. I mean, that's all done. That's all done by citizens of Amenia.
Yeah.
I mean, citizens of Millerton. I would put, if only.
Don't cause
a panic.
Panic here.
And then the other one was we talked about this last time, but again, I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any concern about putting together an RFP for services of a graphic designer, just to sort of clean up the kind of illegible seal and make some, give us some help in terms of signs we're going to need around town.
Hey, I can recommend Haley Winters. She's going to college for it.
I'm sorry, who, what?
Just making a joke.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so anyone have a problem with that?
Nope.
Okay.
Like others have.
And the last thing is James Ollinger is interested in completing the or having made the Amenia entry signs. That's one there that he showed us previously. I just would like to get, he's actually in the process of getting 2 additional quotes to the one he started with, so I think when he gets those, we can actually have a vote to approve that.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
I mean, I think hopefully that will be on
Yeah,
the next
the signs we've
meeting.
seen already, I'm excited about them.
Yeah, he was actually hoping he might have them tonight, but since he's not in the room, I'm guessing now. Okay, resolutions. That seemed faster than expected.
Yeah, we're starting with number 38 tonight.
Okay, number 38. Let me. Oh, come on. Too many papers. Okay. This one, number 38, is approving the engineer and attorney to prepare a map plan and report for the creation of a new sewer district within the town of Amenia.
39, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
The last one.
38 is already
39.
taken.
Yeah.
Oh, good, I didn't write it down yet. That was perfect. Whereas the town of Amenia is considering the creation of a new sewer district pursuant to Town Law 209, which requires the preparation of a map plan and report pursuant to Town Law 209B and 209C, and whereas the town board requested proposals for engineering and legal services for the preparation of a map plan and report, and whereas in response to the request for engineering services, La Berge Engineering and Consulting Group Limited submitted an engineering proposal to prepare such map plan and report as required by town law 209B for a fee not to exceed $27,550 as set forth in said proposal, a copy of which is annexed here too and made a part hereof. And whereas in response to the request for legal services, Tabner, Ryan, and Kennery LLP submitted a legal proposal for the preparation of such map plan and report as required by town law 209B for a fee not to exceed $18,000 as set forth in said proposal, a copy of which is annexed here too and made a part hereof. And whereas the town board, it is hot in here now that you mention it, whereas the town board adopted resolution number 5 of 2024 on January 4th, 2024, authorizing the appropriation of funds for the preparation of said map plan and report subject to permissive referendum, and whereas the time for filing a petition has expired and the town clerk of the town of Amenia has certified that no petition has been timely filed, and whereas the town board now wishes for the engineer and the attorney to prepare the aforementioned map plan and report, now therefore be it resolved as follows. The recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. The town board of the town of Amenia hereby approves La Berge Engineering, Consulting Group Limited and Tabner, Ryan, and Kennery LLP to prepare the map plan and report for the creation of a new sewer district within the town of Amenia. La Berge Engineering and Consulting Group Limited and Tabner, Ryan, Kennery LLP shall be paid in accordance with their respective proposals and in accordance with resolution number 5 of 2024. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Discussion?
Sure.
So, some of the information I got about this $45,550 was what, if this doesn't pass, what the money could be used for. And
I'm sorry, you're talking about you're doing the sum of these two numbers?
yeah.
Okay.
So, one of the things that can be used for is actually dear to your heart. It can be used for the highway garage, understanding that this project is not considered a special district, because that was the issue with using it for the water district. It's already a special district. But what it can be used for is a project like the highway garage. I want to make that clear, if anybody has any questions about that.
Okay, well, since we already allocated the money in the budget, just for the record, the money is allocated to this use, but any other comments?
But that's my point. It can be used for the highway garage, even though it's allocated in the budget.
But I think what you're discussing about with the water district is a separate thing, right? Am I?
Well, no. Obviously, if it doesn't pass, I'm just saying there are other uses for that money.
Yes, okay.
Right.
That wasn't brought up. Well, I got the research on it, and you can certainly look it up.
General funds cannot be used for a special district. So only
correct.
those that are benefited. So this money is in the general fund budget approved for this year.
But that's exactly what I'm saying.
But the special district hasn't been created yet.
No. The highway garage is not a special district.
And neither is the wastewater yet.
Okay. Yes, you could totally use that money for the
Yeah, but
highway
that
garage.
wasn't disclosed to us, and I had to look it up. I'm just saying, I looked it up, and that's information that needs to be shared.
So you're just doing it good.
Any expense item, any expense line in the 2024 budget approved by the board can be reassigned to be used for anything. So the $150,000 that is assigned for legal counsel can be assigned for that as well.
Yeah, I was going to get to the ARPA funds too here, so.
So, and ARPA, yes, ARPA funds can be used for, I mean, I'll answer any questions. Right now, we're on that minor
It seems
report.
like we're having a lot of public comment while we're doing resolutions, and that's normally not the case.
Is there a land for the sewage treatment plant? Has that been?
No, but we're not doing comments right now. That was just answering a question.
Okay, I think that should be made clear. That they're doing a plan, but there's no place bought. So they're doing a plan for something that doesn't exist.
Well, I can answer that question if you'd like. There were 3 town-owned properties identified in the original report, and so there are other properties that the wastewater could be put on.
So George, you're right, and that was brought up publicly before, that we lost the Lake Amenia Road property, which was key. That was, we looked at the other sites and they weren't viable as much as certainly the Lake Amenia Road property was. So that was the change. That was a major change.
I'm going to disagree with you on
that.
whether any of the other properties were viable or not, because I was on the wastewater committee while we were choosing the different properties. We chose that property as being the most economically feasible property, but there were other properties that the company had identified that would work.
The costs were just way...
The cost would have only
Yeah.
been like maybe $100,000 more in the overall $20 million project.
I know it's too bad the previous town board didn't move things along more quickly, or we would have had that property by now. But in any event, did you have anything to say, Rosanna?
Well, I actually thought that in this report that they were going to include those other 2 sites. So when they do their...
Yes, that's true. When they do that, they would look at the other
They're going to take into
sites.
consideration the other 2 sites.
But we don't have that information. We don't have that information yet.
Well,
They do.
We did. It was last meeting. We read it. It was part of the resolution.
No, as far as the costs are concerned.
Oh, I don't know about the cost.
Within the scope of the LaBerge proposal is an exploration of the alternatives that were presented in the feasibility study. I believe there's 4 total. So within this scope, they will examine each of those and come back to us with what they think is the best.
Okay, and I will just say again that since the 1961 report that the town commissioned, it's been said that without a wastewater system, Amenia will shrivel up and die, and it hasn't quite, but it certainly hasn't thrived. So I think to delay this another 60-some years would be really unconscionable, so I think we should vote.
Right, so that is irrelevant as far as I'm concerned, because...
Why is that irrelevant, Brad?
Because I think we have to consider what's on the table now, not what was on the table in 1961, for God's sake. So we have a $6 million town garage. We have a failing wastewater, or failing water district that we don't even know the fire hydrants will work if there's a fire in front of your house. No one can tell me that they will.
Well, we have the same water operator for a very long time. I'm sure that had something to do with it.
So these are issues that weren't here in 1961. I think that we have to have priorities. We can't just be throwing money at everything that comes down. I was on the wastewater committee in 2012. I've been a proponent of it ever since. I'm a proponent now. But I don't know if we're being fiscally responsible to throw all these projects out for the taxpayers of the town to pay for.
Well, this was discussed again when the budget was put together, and I know that this money could be used for other things.
And that was before we lost the property.
I'm sorry?
That was before we lost the property on Lake Amenia Road.
I'm sorry, what was before we lost the property?
When we discussed this, what you just said.
Right. But I think that, as has been said too many times, that Amenia's downtown cannot expand, that there can be no economic development downtown, no restaurants, no more apartments, Zippo without a wastewater district. And if you are content with the town staying in the same place for the next 60 years, then that's great. But I think you have to occasionally, do a leap of faith. So that's what I would advocate
So
when we vote.
ultimately, what this will come down for the public is a resolution, or this is going to have to be voted on. It has to be a referendum. So the people of the town are either going to vote this in or not. So ultimately, that's what this will come down to. I feel it's my responsibility to share all information, not just part of the information. So this is why I'm bringing this up.
Okay.
To be transparent.
Yeah, I'm very proud of you for doing that, Brad. That's great. But
we don't need that.
yeah. But anyway, I think we should vote.
Supervisor Blackman?
Yes.
Councilpersons Winters?
Yes.
Rebellard?
No.
Ham?
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. Resolution number 40.
I want to say I'm happy it passed, but I had to speak my conscience on this.
Okay, which is a good thing. Let's see. Resolution number 40, rescinding Resolution 38 of 2023, allocating American Rescue Plan Act funds. This money was allocated to purchase the property on Lake Amenia Road for affordable housing, and the town wasn't able to close in time. So this is putting money back into the treasury, as it were, into our grant money, back into our grant money. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Amenia, by Resolution number 76 of 2022, authorized a letter of intent for the intended use of the Community Development Block Grant funds for the fiscal year 2023 and set up a public hearing for community input regarding the application for the grant funds. Whereas on November 19th, 2022, a public hearing was held at the Town Hall, Town of Amenia, 4988 Route 22, Amenia, New York, 12501. And whereas on or about November 21st, 2022, the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development approved the town's letter of intent to apply for a $150,000 grant to acquire a 3.9-acre parcel, and rehabilitate the vacant single-family home located on the parcel to be used for affordable housing. And whereas on or about December 9th, 2022, the town of Amenia submitted an application for the CDBG to the DC DPD, and whereas on or about April 5th, 2023, the DC DPD issued a grant award with a number of contingencies, including the allocation of $200,273 of the American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds previously awarded to the town. And whereas the Town Board of the Town of Amenia, by Resolution number 38 of 2023, authorized the allocation of the same amount, $200,273 of the ARPA funds to satisfy said contingency. And whereas on or about February 1st, 2024, the negotiations for the purchase of the parcel were terminated, and whereas on or about February 21st, 2024, the grant award was officially rescinded by the Commissioner of the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development, and whereas the Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby seeks to formally rescind Resolution number 38 of 2023, allocating $200,273 of the ARPA funds previously awarded to the town. Now therefore be it resolved as follows: the recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted therein. The Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby formally rescinds Resolution number 38 of 2024, allocating $200,273 of the American Rescue Plan Act, the ARPA funds previously awarded to the town. I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Yeah.
Discussion?
Just one quick correction.
Yep.
Page 2, it should be resolution number 38 of 2023. It's on the top. Turn the
Yep.
page over.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Turn the page right.
Yep. Before we vote on this, I'd like a quick discussion on it, if possible.
Sure.
How much money do we have in this ARPA fund that the town of Amenia possessed?
Interesting question, right?
Yeah.
I tried to get that information previously and didn't, but that's no excuse for my not having it now.
Charlie, do you have an idea of what it is yet?
You seconded it, right?
The town was given $481,000 of ARPA funds.
Say it again?
400 originally was 481.
481?
The town board has authorized the spend of $108,000 of that.
Do we know or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
The $108,000 was transferred to the water district.
Which is illegal?
No, it is not. No. The ARPA funds have very strict requirements as to how you can use them, mainly for public health. And so
Just let me back up for 1 second. It's
Yes.
my understanding that you can't use general taxpayer money in a special district.
ARPA funds are not considered general fund funds.
Okay. Yeah. It's American Rescue Plan. It's
So
different.
ARPA is the
Yeah.
American Rescue Plan money that came during COVID.
Yeah.
So it can be used to, specifically, it's really for the health and safety of the public. So
Okay.
water districts, sewer
So,
districts.
but it's not considered general fund money then?
It is not, no.
Okay.
Little caveat, you can, if you can demonstrate that you lost revenue because of COVID,
Yep.
you can use portions of your ARPA fund to make up for that revenue. So that's
Okay.
one way that you can do it, but it's a small portion.
So,
Okay, thank you.
so to be clear, that this is being done because it goes right back to the wastewater's loss of the property on Lake Avenia Mill, which was, these monies were going to be
That's
used.
incorrect. So the town board passed a resolution earmarking these ARPA funds for the purchase of affordable housing. It was not for any kind of
There's nothing to
wastewater
do with
endeavor.
that?
Right.
So it's coming out of the, from the affordable housing?
So the ARPA funds can be used for public health benefits, and that is wastewater, drinking water, and
Right.
housing. The 200 and change the town board authorized for the purchase of affordable housing.
So the 108 has already been transferred?
The 108,000 was transferred by the board to the water district.
Right.
And was used for well testing on Depot Hill Road, on the Sims property. And I can't quite remember the amount. The largest portion of that, about $78,000, was used for testing of those wells.
Yeah.
The remaining was paid to the previous water operator for lead service line replacement.
So if DRI finds further problems with the water district that we need to repair now rather than waiting later, we can use this money to do so, correct?
Yes, well, so not to get off topic, but this is important. Next board meeting, I will make a larger report as the Director of Finance. ARPA funds have to be earmarked by a municipality before the end of this year, and those funds must be used before the end of 2026.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted some clarification.
No, absolutely, that's fine.
And I'm sorry, because who seconded it?
I did.
Rosanna did.
Rosanna.
No more further comments from me. We can vote if we wish.
Supervisor Blackman.
Yes, sorry.
Councilpersons Revellard.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes?
Okay. Resolution number 41 of 2024, authorizing New York Class Municipal Corporation Agreement and New York Class Municipal Cooperation designation as an authorized depository for town funds. Whereas New York General Municipal Law, Article 5G, Section 1190, Section 1190, empowers municipal corporations defined in Article 5G, Section 1119N to include school districts, boards, and boards of cooperative educational services, counties, cities, towns, and villages, and districts to enter into, amend, cancel, and terminate agreements for the performance among themselves or one for the other of their respective functions, powers, and duties on a cooperative or contract basis. Whereas the town of Amenia wishes to invest portions of its available investment funds in cooperation with other corporations and/or districts pursuant to the New York Class Municipal Cooperation Agreement, amended and restated as a March 28, 2019 agreement. Whereas the town of Amenia wishes to assure the safety and liquidity needs of their funds. Whereas the town of Amenia wishes to designate NY Class Municipal Cooperation as an authorized depository for town funds up to the maximum amount of $3 million. Now, therefore, be it resolved as follows. One, that the recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. Two, that the town board hereby authorizes participation in the New York Class, NY Class program under the terms of the agreement. Three, that the town supervisor is hereby authorized to execute the agreement and any other documents to effectuate participation in the New York Class program under the terms of the agreement. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any questions, any discussion on this? Does everybody know what it is?
Clear on it.
You're pretty clear on it?
Yeah.
Let me hang on a second.
Sure. I went to the Dutchess County Supervisors and Mayors meeting this week, and I would say that 60% of the towns and villages in Dutchess County are already part of this.
Just reading what their site says right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, go right ahead, but I'm just saying that much of Dutchess County
Yeah, they use it.
municipalities are using it already. And basically what it does is it invests in a safe way funds that are otherwise just sitting in the bank. And other communities have found that they gain quite a lot of money, at least a good amount of money, that they otherwise wouldn't have by using this option.
Oh, I got it. Thanks.
Okay?
Supervisor Blackman?
Yes.
Council members Rebellard?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
Okay. All right, resolution number, 41? 42? Damn. 42 of 2024. Appointment of Deputy Town Supervisor to the Town of Amenia. Whereas the Town Supervisor is authorized to appoint a Deputy Town Supervisor, and whereas the Town Board would like to recognize and thank Vicki Doyle for her service as Deputy Town Supervisor for the Town of Amenia for over 8 years, and whereas Leo Blackman, Supervisor of the Town of Amenia, has elected to appoint Rosanna Ham as his Deputy Town Supervisor, now therefore be it resolved that 1, the recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. 2, the Town Board acknowledges the appointment of Rosanna Ham as Deputy Town Supervisor by Leo Blackman, Supervisor of the Town of Amenia for calendar year 2024. 3, Rosanna Ham's appointment is on a volunteer basis and shall receive no compensation for said appointment. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Supervisor Blackman?
Yes?
Council members Rebellard?
Yes.
Ham?
I can't vote on
Can't vote
myself.
on
Can't vote herself.
Winters?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
But she has to just tell me she's abstaining. I can't assume that.
That's a vote.
Okay. Resolution number, are we actually, wait a
Could
minute.
have, but I'm not going to educate
What are we
tonight.
at up to?
Yeah,
43 now?
I
They
would
went to
think,
school,
yes,
they should know that
43.
she could.
Okay, resolution number 43 of 2024, appointment of town council person to fill a vacancy. Whereas there exists by operation of law a vacancy on the town board of the town of Amenia due to the resignation of Councilman Leo Blackman, and whereas such position of council person is a 4-year term which expires on December 31, 2025, and whereas pursuant to Town Law 64-5, the town board of the town of Amenia, by majority vote thereof, has the authority to appoint a qualified person to fill the vacancy in an elective office until the commencement of the calendar year next succeeding the first annual election, and whereas pursuant to Town Law 64-5, the vacant seat will be subject to an election to fill the unexpired term at the general election in 2024. And whereas the town board has received and considered the qualifications of those individuals that have expressed interest in filling said vacancy, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Amenia does hereby appoint Bill Flood to fill the existing town board vacancy effective immediately. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Supervisor Blackman?
Yes?
Councilman Rebellard?
I have a question, and I didn't speak up clearly enough, but weren't there 2 people vying for that position?
Yeah, but we're voting on Bill because he's been waiting without an answer for a long time.
Okay, and what did you say?
I'm sorry?
Did you vote? I didn't hear you.
I did not vote, no, I wouldn't. I believe I would vote last.
Well, you haven't been. You haven't been voting last.
No, I voted that she's called me.
Oh.
She hasn't called you.
Yeah, I'm
We're
just
reading
curious.
them.
I'm just curious why we changed the order.
I'm sure it was an evil plot, but it could also just be the typist got bored.
Yeah.
Well, my name is called, I've answered.
I'm going to vote no.
Councilwoman Ham?
Yes.
Councilman Winters?
No.
Okay, I will substitute a name, and you've already heard the whole resolution. And that name is Nicole Ahern. And someone make that motion?
I'll motion it.
Second?
I'll second.
Supervisor Blackman?
No.
Councilman Rebellard?
Yes.
Councilwoman Ham?
Yes.
Councilman Winters?
Yes.
Okay.
Angry person.
Who was that?
You know, someone else that we considered and didn't.
Oh, we decided not to.
Sad.
Okay, so that is the end of the resolutions, yes? Yes. So the appointment of additional community liaisons was dependent on whether we actually had a fifth person who was able to take over those, or whether the three of you were going to get assigned more committees.
More people or not?
Yes. I should have mentioned that before, actually. I might have changed your vote. But I'm going to skip that because we haven't had a chance to talk about that, nor has the new appointee been able to look at those. So we'll move to appointment of committee members. Do we do these one at a time as a motion?
You can, unless you guys know all of them.
I think we went through all of them, so
Yeah, we
let me
do
try
all of
that
And
then.
if you know them and you recall
Okay,
them, we can do it.
so then I would appoint the following people to the following committees. 2 seats on the Board of Assessment Review, Kenneth Topolsky and Mark Hussey. 1 seat on Recreation, Juan Torres. Water District, no seats. I mean, there's 1 seat, but no one was chosen. Housing Board, 2 seats, Diane Rivara and Mark Hussey. Comprehensive Plan, there were 2 seats, I believe, and that was Terrence McCauley and Kenneth Topolsky. And Wastewater also needs a new member. So that is...
You're doing Terrence and Kenneth for comprehensive plan?
Yeah,
Okay.
right. So I would...
That's you, Leo, making that
Make a
motion?
motion. I wasn't doing it fast enough.
I'll
for you.
second it.
And housing
And
was
just-
Diana. Housing was Diana?
Housing was Diana and Mark. There were 2 spots.
So real quick, just for everyone's sake, Board of
Yes.
Assessment, we have, there's the 2 seats.
Right.
We have Ken and Mark with 2 expiring terms. Did you state them in the order to which you want for 27 and 28,
No,
respectively?
we did not.
We didn't.
Sorry.
Are there others where we have to do this? No, just that one.
Well, I'm going to say recreation's allowed, but yes. So you want to do you want to keep them in that order?
Yeah, let's keep them in that
Okay.
order.
So your motion's going to show Ken Toplowski is going to expire in 2027, and Mark Hussey is 2028. As they know, some are in the room and some may be watching. Do keep in mind, you need to come into the town clerk's office and get sworn in, and I'll give you your education requirements. Hint. And then for recreation, Juan Torres, his term's going to expire in 2026. And that's it for terms.
The Housing Board doesn't have terms.
Comprehensive
Interesting.
doesn't have terms either, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of weird that it works that
That
way,
is
but
weird.
we'll deal with that at some later date.
Okay, so there's been a motion made and seconded. Supervisor Blackman?
Yes?
We'll keep, so nobody gets upset, the order that the attorney is putting it on. Council members Rebellard?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
And Winters?
Yes.
Okay, congratulations, everyone.
Thank you. So the last motion is to approve of the town clerk advertising for the committee seats still unfilled, which is 1 on wastewater, 1 on the water district, and
One on
1
CAC.
CAC.
How
So
many people are open on the water district? 1 or 2?
Water committee?
Yeah, water committee.
One.
One, okay.
just 1.
I've been working on somebody.
Okay. So I'll make that motion.
Leo?
I'll second.
Rosanna? Council, Supervisor Blackman?
Yes. what was
Council
that?
members Rebellard?
Oh, yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Yes.
And Winters?
Yes.
Okay, and that's the last of our motion. Other matters.
Can there
Hang on,
possibly
Jimmy.
be other matters?
What?
I see you, but they're still in other matters and town board comments.
Well, we have talked about having a second session, but since we don't now, I'll play by the rules. Any other matters from the board or town board comments?
Yeah, I have some comments. Have we had any luck on moving forward on the request from Gabrielle Kumpner from a month ago about asking DOT to examine a turning light?
Oh, I think you missed that. Last time, were you at the last meeting?
No, I was not, but
Okay.
I saw that they changed the lights to
Right.
address when pedestrians cross.
Right.
But that has nothing to do with what she requested.
No, the problem with, I mean, as far as I understood from talking to DOT, is the problem with having a turning light means that anyone who's behind that person, if that person doesn't move, then it blocks all the traffic on Route 22. There's not enough width there for a turning lane.
So DOT, well, no, we didn't request, I don't think she requested a
Well,
turning light.
even a turn light, it sounded like that was going to be a problem in terms of the cars that were behind the first car. In other words, if they did, well, I don't know. DOT seemed not interested in that, but we can bring that up again. The pedestrian situation is much better.
Yeah,
because
no, I
it doesn't
understand
solve-
that.
But you're right, it doesn't solve
I was
the,
just curious, because the last time that we discussed it
Yep,
a month
you're
ago, I was wondering if the email was ever sent out to the information that I had provided to the town board, because there's a specific organization within DOT that deals with this.
I think that was who I spoke to, because I think I used what you sent, but in any event, I will double check.
Okay, thank you. Town garage on the ballot, we already talked about. I think that's something that would really benefit this community. And as I stated before, we've been working on this for 20 years, and it's been long enough. The community feedback that I've received is that something that they would love to be able to vote on come November.
The garage.
Yeah, a town garage. The next thing is part of last year.
I'm sorry,
when I-
you mean the bond, you don't mean the
Yeah,
garage
for the
itself.
bond, well, a bond for the garage. Last year when I ran, one of the things that I really ran for was term limits within the community. My original idea was 16, but after listening to the community, because I had two ideas here, I said one would be 16 years and the other would be making the supervisor position every 4 years up for election, but the community spoke and they would like to see the every 2 years for the supervisor, but they would like to see term limits of 12 years for the town board.
Okay.
Meaning supervisor and town board members, rather than having someone up here for 18, 20 years. So that would be my next question, I guess, to the lawyer, town lawyers. How would we go about moving forward with getting this as something that the board, the community could vote on this year, term limits?
You'd have to do local law. That would have to be done before sometime in August. We'd have to have it in order to get it on the ballot.
Okay. So that's something that we need to discuss further within the town board group? Right. Right?
Yeah, I would
Okay.
need direction from the board as to how they want to proceed on it, sure.
Okay. All right, that's it for me.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, the last couple of meetings, so I had asked about the parking lot and where that stood, and you
Oh.
said you were going to reach out to the Stone Leaf about that.
Yeah, and I hadn't, that's my fault, let me,
Okay, so we've gotten nowhere on that.
no. Okay, Rosanna, anything? No. All right, I think that's it. I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Well, not as bad as I thought.
Oh.
How about that? See, I should have given people 2.5 minutes to speak.
43. Supervisor Blackman?
Yes.
Council members Revillard?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.